Well, if this was Sunday, this is the point at which I'd ask everybody to open their Bibles. But being that it isn't Sunday and you didn't bring them, I'll just open mine. But there's a couple of pieces of Scripture that I thought about this week. We have done, when we've had church, we've done a lot of talking about gifts over the last month and giving and what the whole spirit, the reason for the season was. Yesterday we spent a lot of time talking about the special gift that we were given. And so that got me to thinking about a piece of Scripture that I like a lot. And over in Paul's letter to the Corinthians, not a place we might ordinarily look for a Christmas piece of Scripture, but over in Corinthians, in the 7th chapter of Corinthians, the 7th verse, bear with me, I want to get it right. Corinthians 7:7, Paul writes these words, and I think they're important to us. But each one has his own gift from God, one in this manner and one in another. Each of us has been given a gift by God, a gift that makes us unique and makes us very special. The Bible tells us that before we were formed in our mother's womb, God knew who we were, and God laid out a plan for our lives. Each one of us is uniquely and wonderfully made. And it's this time of season when we think about the gifts and what we've been given by one another, that a lot of that comes into play. My favorite piece of Scripture, favorite section of Scripture is the 15th chapter of John, verses 9 to 16. And they're pretty familiar to most of us. Jesus is speaking to the disciples gathered, and he said, I have loved you just as the Father has loved me. You must go on loving one another, just as I go on living in the love of my Father. He said, I have told you everything that God has told me, so that your joy, my joy may be in you, and your joy may be complete. He said, this I command you, love one another. Greater love has no man than this, that he would lay down his life for that of his friends. And Jesus said, you know, you're my friends if you do what I tell you to do. He said, I don't call you servants anymore. No, I call you my friends because I have told you everything that the Father has told me. And he ends up that section by saying, this I command you, love one another. Thinking about those two things, the gifts that we've all been given, the things that make us unique, thinking about that sacrificial love that Jesus brought when he came to earth to be with us, and that piece of Scripture, I want to share with you a little story. This is a story that I first heard a long time ago, back when many of you were yet a child, I think. But I met a man named Martin Bell years and years ago. And I heard him read this particular story at a Christmas Eve service that I went to back when I lived way up north. And I love this little story. And with those two pieces of Scripture in mind, and when we think about this season, the season of giving, listen to this little story. It's called Barrington Bunny. Once upon